Are we live? Yes, we are live as we speak. Yes. Welcome, everyone. This is Caregivers Embracing Elder Care. I am Bahamia Ulysses, joined by Sergeant Major William Downs and Robin Downs from Yoga Flava. Thank you guys for joining us. This has been a great journey so far. We wanted to just help you embrace your caregiver experience. And so, Robin and Sergeant Major, I'll let you introduce yourselves, but I just wanted to say that this has been such a great experience in making this a standard Sunday program where caregivers can come and just listen in on some of the tips, tricks, and resources that I have, and then also get that experience from Yoga Flava and how they can incorporate their caregiver journey and path and embracing elder care. So Robin, I'll let you introduce yourself without further ado.
Hi, my name is Robin Downs of Yoga Flava, and I'm here with my father, Sergeant Major William Huntley Downs, U.S. Army retired. And we're both delighted to be here and share our journey. We've been having a good time taking care of each other. I like to say that we're a team. And I always like to commend my father for really preparing well for this stage of his life, and he deserves to be well taken care of. And I'm so happy and proud that I can do that for my daddy.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Awesome, Robin. So I think we've followed a great format. So we'll start off with your affirmation and meditation. I think I didn't necessarily mention the topic, but what I really wanted to discuss today was more so the clinical aspect of caring for your aging loved one, not only just in the home, but also how you get out into the community, how you relate to the care team, and what it is that you may need along the way so that you can best support your aging loved one, but also have, a good grip on what's going on. Because I think particularly when people transition from an acute situation where they're in the hospital and something has happened to their loved one, and now they're discharging from the hospital and have to go into a long-term care facility or a rehab facility or a assisted living facility, somewhere that isn't home, that little transition tends to be very stressful and sticky. So I think that'll be
Speaking of stress, let's de-stress.
Awesome.
I think a lot of people hold a lot of tension in their neck and shoulders. So I'd like you to simply squeeze your shoulders up to your ears and then roll the shoulders back and squeeze the shoulder blades together behind you. Good. Slowly come down. Come all the way forward. Good. And let's do 4 slow, exaggerated shoulder rolls back. Full range of motion. Good. And then 4 slow, exaggerated shoulder rolls forward, full range of motion. Okay, so with doing this, hopefully you felt some release and just have a sense of letting whatever issues that you're pondering, dealing with, let it roll off your shoulder. Let it roll off both your shoulders. Have a sense of whatever issues you're dealing with. Let them roll off your shoulders. And then from here, you can bring your right palm over your heart, your left palm to your lower belly. And then inhale, pushing that left palm away. Let the belly swell like a balloon. And then exhale, really pull the belly button back towards the spine and up towards your heart. Going again, inhale, full belly breath. You can close your eyes, internalize your awareness. Exhale, pull the belly button back towards your spine, up towards your heart. And again, inhale, full belly breath. And exhale fully. Now continue to breathe deeply and exhale fully. Keep your shoulders relaxed, keep your face relaxed. With each exhalation, allowing for a deeper sense of relaxation. And then here's the affirmation. that I'd like to share with you today. As you continue to breathe deeply and exhale fully, some of you may have a sense in this caregiving journey that it's sucking the life right out of you. But as you breathe deeply and exhale fully, inhale, just say to yourself, I am full of life and vitality. And then exhale, let go of everything you don't need. Going again, inhale, I am full of life and vitality. Exhale, releasing any burdens, let it roll off your shoulders. One more time, inhaling, I am full of life and vitality. Exhaling, letting go of anything that's holding you back. Bringing the palms together in front of the heart center. The spirit in me honors the spirit in you. Namaste.
Namaste. That was great, as usual. Thank you, Robin. That was amazing. I hope everybody got a little bit of relief and ease as we talk about a semi-stressful subject matter. So first, I just want to say, for anyone who has had the experience of having their aging loved one in a hospital and not really knowing what to do, where to go, you're not alone. And I think one of the things Robin and I have discussed the most was having a plan, having a care plan about what your loved one wants to do as they age, where they want to be, because these things are going to happen. So having that plan already designed, so when these catastrophes or surprises happen, we're prepared, is going to be probably the biggest gift that you can give yourself in this space. So I just wanted to kind of run down a few of the things that I advise my client caregivers to do. And then Robin, you can tell me if there's any of it that resonates and maybe some of it that you did do with Sergeant Major when you guys were kind of going through the transition of you being his full-time caregiver. So first things first, because I'm a nurse, I'm always going to have the penchant about medications. So I always say, have a medication list, an updated medication list on you and on, or if possible, on your loved one's persons at all time. Because I think that's usually the first place where people get very confused about what's going on.
And I'd like to add to that.
Go ahead.
What I have is a care zone app.
Awesome.
That's the app that I use. I think there's probably a few other apps for caregivers. And in that app, I can list all the medications. So it's always wonderful. For a while, and sometimes I do carry around the paper, but otherwise it's really handy to just be able to go on my phone and just be able to show, the doctor or nurse what the medication list is.
Very good, Robin. That is ideal. I think having it somewhere, whether it be an app. I love the apps, but not everybody is, tech savvy, and they don't necessarily feel the need to have the apps. But I love them because a lot of them, and I don't know if this particular one does it, but it allows other people in the caregiver circle to get access to the app. So
and the other thing that I do have is what I call my medical file. That does have the medication and maybe whatever notes from the last meeting. And this way, okay, we're going for a medical appointment, and I just have the medical hot file, I call it.
Yes.
To be able to have on hand for whatever questions may need to be asked.
You teed me up, Robin. That was it. So that's the next part of it, is to have a file, because depending on how extensive your loved one's medical history is, you really want to have it all in one place, because I know a lot of people think that doctors communicate and that they talk to one another about what your last visit was like and what the new treatment regimen is. But the reality is, unless they're in a system or like a particular HMO system, out here we have different insurance companies that own hospitals like Kaiser Permanente, where all of their information is centralized and all of their doctors are Kaiser Permanente doctors. So unless you have a situation like that, it is always advisable to have that, what did you call it, Robin? A medical file?
Medical hot file.
Medical hot file, yes.
I have a whole cabinet that has all the medical stuff, but I have to kind of figure out what are the most important documents that I need to have on hand for the appointment.
that medical hot file is going to be, I think, very, very, very significant for many people, because half of what ends up happening in the emergency room is figuring out what's been going on. What's happened, where your loved one has been, what brought them here to this space. And naturally, the nurses and doctors do have to take kind of like an interview or get an idea of what's been going on so they can properly treat you. But wouldn't it be so much easier if you could just have it right there and they could just simply read through the file and not necessarily kind of try to guess at what is going on, right?
Correct.
So that's number one. Number one and number two, I guess, it kind of in the same. And we talked about a little bit about this for number two last week, but I always say, along with that medication list, have yourself the documentation of your loved one's advance directives and or power of attorney. So, or durable power of attorney.
Right.
So we did
healthcare proxy and power
yes.
documents.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And so everybody kind of, you don't necessarily have to prescribe to one. I prefer to have both, particularly in the advanced directives. There's a pink paper. I think a lot of people have seen it, but it's usually a hot pink paper. It's called the POLST, POLST. And so that's the acronym for a longer name. I won't bore you with that. But basically, it is the documentation that says, if something were to happen to me where I were to stop breathing, or for whatever reason, I couldn't, there was no pulse, there was nothing in terms of vital signs, do I want to be resuscitated? And we call that the DNR, do not resuscitate. Or if you do want full measures done, meaning you want to be intubated with a ventilator, you want to have all the medications and things of that nature given to you to help you sustain your life, then you would say, I'm a full code. So that's the difference on the pulse. There's a check, there's two checklists.
For the most part, Sergeant Major always goes towards full code. He's a fighter. He wants to hang in there. So.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's always a personal choice. And everybody has different feelings around it. I think depending on what your health history has been, that will definitely have an influence on whether or not you choose to be resuscitated should you not be able to breathe or have a heart rate on your own. So those are the two, I think, number one and two of the biggies that I say that you need to have with you. And then the last one, which is probably, it doesn't seem as significant, but it is because depending on if your loved one is able to advocate for themselves, meaning if they're forgetful and they have some memory loss issues, if they have dementia, the next documentation I always say to have is a list of emergency contacts. So that's something that I think gets overlooked, and people, end up calling the wrong people, or the wrong person gets called, makes a decision, and it wasn't the best decision, or it wasn't what the loved one would have wanted. I've had some situations that way. So those three things will help kind of give you like an umbrella of safeties, right? So when you or your aging loved one are in that position, you kind of have your ducks in a row, your T's are crossed, your I's are dotted, and people know who's in the caregiver circle. So on that emergency contact list, it should be the name of the person, a phone number, an alternate phone number, and then how they're related to you. What is their role in your caregiver circle?
And I'd like to jump in here.
Yeah.
Because when I first needed to jump in, his primary contact was his lady friend, Shirley. Shirley and Albie Albie was his, and maybe I shouldn't say names,
It's okay. I think the first name is okay. We'll give them some new names. It's okay.
His lady friend and her son.
Yes.
His lady friend and her son. And she was showing signs of forgetfulness. She was the emergency contact. Mm-hmm. So I was looking for my father and like, oh, he's in the hospital. I'm like, and you didn't tell me. So I had to go, find him in the hospital. And then they were like, okay, well, he's going to rehab now. And I didn't know what that even meant at that point. I was like, oh, okay, I'll follow him over there. Mm-hmm. And when I got over there, he didn't have any of his clothes. And I asked his lady friend to bring over some clothes. And she was on the phone and she was just like, I don't know where they are. And
Oh,
they've been living together for nearly 20 years. I was just like,
wow.
hey. And then when I asked her if she was coming to visit, she was like, I don't know how to get there. I was like, okay, maybe we should call a car service.
Mhm.
And I called the car service, and then I find out that she didn't know what to tell, where to tell the car service to take her. So that was a real big eye opener that the emergency contact
Mhm.
wasn't up to the job anymore.
Right. Right.
And thank goodness I was able to step in and say,
Thank you.
that the emergency contact person can't really deal
Mhm.
with it. And
Mhm.
her son had tried to bring over a few things, but I think he just brought over like some t-shirts or something, like undershirts, not even
Right.
like clothes.
Sure.
And I had to like bring clothes, for myself and my boyfriend at the time, for my father to wear. So wherever you are, and maybe you are not the caregiver, but at some point you will be the caregiver, you really have to pay attention because you never know exactly when you need to jump in.
Yes.
So just continue to pay attention is what I really want to say for all of you may not be the full-time caregiver. You may just be, the loved one that checks in upon occasion. So keep checking in, and especially when there's a hospital situation, as best you can, go on the scene, make a phone call, just see what's really going on. And I don't know if this had happened before. I don't know if this had happened before, but this particular time I was able to go and see what was happening, and like, oh my goodness, there's a
This
problem.
is, yes, big deal. So, and I think that's the last part, and then we will turn it over to our other segment of Flavor of Life. But the last part I wanted to say was, part of this is, getting to know what is going on in your aging loved one's life. So, a big deal, and this is something that Robin and I have talked about in terms of what I do as a geriatric care manager, is accompanying my clients, or sometimes even the client and their caregiver, to doctor's office visits. So I think sometimes there is a stigma, and privacy is an issue, right? Our parents don't necessarily want us knowing all what's going on with them. But when it comes to certain issues of health, where there has to be big decisions or there's treatment involved, at a certain point, it's a good idea to accompany them on their doctor's office visits. And one of those things that I say when I say bring those lists, bring those emergency contacts, it's also so that the doctor can be aware of what's going on in their patient's life. They don't always follow up in those office visits. They, for whatever reason, don't necessarily get around to it until patient lands in the hospital or something has acutely gone wrong and they now have to troubleshoot. So being that advocate when your loved one is in the doctor's office can go a long way. And so, Robin, I don't know if you have any experiences of being there as that person that has to kind of advocate for your loved one, because we did talk about long-term care facilities and the rehab. So would you tell our audience a little bit more about what that transition experience was like for you after he finally got the clothes and he was discharged and then he went to the rehab facility, or that's where you kind of had that little issue, right? Was
The issue was at the rehab
okay.
facility. And I have 2 rehab facility stories. This was the first time that I was really aware that my father and his lady friend were at a stage where they both needed additional support.
Mhm.
And when my father was in this rehabilitation facility, he was getting better. He was following up with everything, and he just wanted to get out of there. So I became his advocate to get out of there. And also like the responsible person, like I was the one saying like, I'm going to look out for him.
Mhm.
And I'm going to make sure that, he takes his medication, whatever he needs, I'm going to make sure. Now, this was when he was still with his lady friend. So what I did, I got an aide to be there, and, I made a point of following up more than before. And I just felt like that was going to be enough.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, it wasn't enough. And then my father was hospitalized again. And at that point, it was separation. It was determined that, this time when my father's hospitalized, he'll need to go back to his home here in Long Island, and his lady friend was going to go to an assisted living facility. So when he was hospitalized this next time, it was a lot more me, because before I was, just feeling like, lady friend was doing everything. So this time it was a lot more me. And I don't know if Dad didn't feel like, sometimes my father is just like, call your boyfriend, have a life, don't worry about me. And I'm like, I am worried about you.
Right.
I'll call my boyfriend later.
Later.
I need to pay attention to what's going on here, because there's some major things that are happening. And between the first hospitalization and the second one, there were some legal issues that were addressed, and there was some paperwork that was addressed, so that when they first asked if I had the authorization to make some decisions, I was able to say yes. Because before they realized that I had the authorization, they didn't think that I did. And they were pretty much trying to convince my father that being in that facility was going to be a great thing for him. And I already saw signs that that facility in and of itself, I wasn't happy with at all. And yes, they did have activities. So that's where it led me to make sure that when he got out of that facility, that I would find senior centers and places for him to socialize, because I could tell that he was really yearning for socialization. But that particular environment I knew wasn't the best for him. And I always feel that he deserves the best.
He does. And so that was I think that circumstance is something that happens a lot, Robin. The part about where he was in the rehab facility and it was maybe time to go, maybe not, but then they wanted him to stay, as in long term.
To stay, yeah.
They tried. Sergeant Major, I just had a quick question for you. Did you feel comfortable at the long-term care facility where you were getting your rehab? Did you feel comfortable there?
Looking back on it, I think I was being drugged.
Oh, that's a good point, Sergeant Major. So that leads
back on it. I don't remember at the time.
Right.
Back on it.
It was scary. I mean, they would line everyone up in the wheelchair, and they all were kind of like,
oh, yeah.
I don't think he got that bad. Like, he was in the hospital, and then he was so much better. And then how do you go from the hospital better, and then they just say he just needs some rehab so he could walk, and then he's in the rehab like. So yeah, that was sad.
Yeah,
and scary.
I think you're not alone at all on that. I have a lot of clients who end up having to revamp all the medications after being in a facility like that, because the way that they treat patients is different from how you would treat your loved one at home. So where you might have some more patience, or where you might have more time, they may not. So unfortunately, what happens to be the filler is the medication, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've got enough of my care management. I wanted to leave the last few minutes over to you, Robin, and talk about a little bit on the flavor of life, because I think we have some really heavy, subjects or topics, but all of this is to help embrace the caregiver journey. It's to help give everybody a flavor of life that is their own on their caregiver journey. So tell our audience a little bit about what the flavor of life means and how you incorporate it.
Well, first of all, that's my whole brand, Yoga Flavor. And I say not just yoga, also the flavor of life. So I'm delighted that within our collaboration, we are able to introduce some self-care yoga techniques, and in addition to the clinical skills that you have as a geriatric care manager. But from our initial broadcast, I said Sergeant Major and I like to have fun and like to socialize. So this past week, I mean, this has been a really full week since last weekend. We did a midweek getaway, and I wanted to do a midweek getaway because I knew it wouldn't be as crowded as a weekend getaway. I didn't want to, I was thinking about something for Labor Day and everything. It's the end of the summer. I wanted to get a few things in that were fun. So we did a midweek getaway. I'm thrilled that we just drove 25 minutes away from Roosevelt to the shore, and a nice beachfront hotel, nice change of scenery, eating at the restaurant, going to the rooftop pool where there was a really nice scene. You remember you were able to look over the beach and see everything. Got some good sun, got some good boardwalk snacks and things like that. And I really got tickled because Dad was like, look at all these people. I want to socialize with them. And he got up. We were sitting on the bench. And next thing I know, he got up, took his walker, and went over to the couple with their young child in the next bench over there and said, hi, I'm Billy. Where are you all from?
Did you enjoy that, Sergeant Major?
Engaged them in a conversation that lasted for a while. They were all intrigued. And we were planning a barbecue this weekend. He invited them to the barbecue. So we really had a great time. And I really love that. You know, we didn't have to go far. I didn't have to drive really far. I made the best of what I could do. I'm really happy I found that spot, and it was delightful. It was refreshing. And then he has another support group through the veterans. And on Friday, we went on a fishing trip from 4 to 8 p.m.
Whoa!
Sunset fishing trip, and where he was also able to socialize with other veterans. We didn't do any actual fishing, but it was just fun for the boat ride and watching other people catch fish. And it was a beautiful experience.
It was.
And then yesterday we opened up the backyard and invited people over. It did rain. We were able to get about 10 people, my cousins and some of the neighbors were able to come through. And once again, Sergeant Major was happy because he was able to socialize and host an event.
Wow. Sergeant Major, it sounds like you had a pretty full week.
Was.
It was. And you're ready for more. I can tell. That's very good. I think I'm very proud of you, Robin, for taking the initiative, because you'd said you'd never been on a fishing trip before. So I think you guys are kind of both discovering some things about, yourselves in this journey, right? Because one of the things we talk about a lot is the caregiver journey. Yes, it's for your loved one, but it's also for you too. It's also for you to be able to not only embrace this season in your life, but kind of explore things in a different way and just really give yourself permission to not have to do so much, but do enough so that it matters and that you're present in the moment, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I think this kind of wraps us up. We're right just under that 30-minute mark. Is there anything that you wanted to let our audience know before we leave here today?
I wanted to thank my father because he is looking out for me. He keeps telling me to call my boyfriend, and I'm like, which one?
I love it. I love it. Yes. Yes. Sergeant Major, you stay on her, okay?
Yes.
Good.
So that's why we're a team. And as much as I look out for him, he does, look out for me too, to make sure that I'm living my best life as well. So
awesome. And I want to say thank you to you both for hanging in there with me and all of my technical difficulties. I've had some issues in the last few weeks, but we are doing good.
You're doing great. It's growing. Everyone, look at our new logo and design so far from our first live on Instagram, and we got big plans. Maybe we can talk a little bit about our plans, Bahamia.
Well, that's true. That's true. I think we can kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit Robin and I have been working together really closely, as you guys know, for the last several months. And we have decided that as part of our platform and our followers kind of grow, we want to put together a program, a masterclass for people who are in similar situations of caregiving and either struggling or looking for ways to find a foundation of embracing this season. So Robin and I are putting together a masterclass that will be launching in the fall. We're looking to have kind of like a fall reset because that's really a time, and Robin, you can talk a little more about it if you'd like, but autumn equinox, right, is that reset for everyone. So stay tuned for that. That is in the works, and I'm so excited because we've got some really dynamic things for it. But I think that
I want to say about the master class, it'll be a little bit more of a deep dive and a little bit more hand holding. We're happy to have this platform. It's kind of bigger and broader, but we really want to, because I know that's what I needed and probably still do as I continue on the journey. You know, a core group of people who are looking for support, are looking to dive deep into their care plans and looking for some really close hand holding.
Absolutely.
Embrace you.
Yes. Yes. I've got some comments in here, Robin. Let me just say, some people are saying they are excited for this. We've got Vince who says, I'm in. I love it. So this will be great. I think this will be a really nice opportunity for caregivers as well as their loved ones, because I think they can also kind of go along with the program as well. We want to make it so that really, just like you and Sergeant Major are having this experience together, we really want to give caregivers the opportunity to have more full experiences together where they can kind of have fun and get a little bit of work done, but still, you know, enjoy this season. Because I think for me, the reason I even started this platform is because I have a lot of caregiver clients that end up having more trauma than joy about this season. So that's my mission and focus. And I'm so glad that I'm working alongside of you and Sergeant Major to be able to make this happen. So stay tuned for that this fall, guys. It's going to be really exciting. I'm so glad. I'm even like just goosebumps right now, just thinking of it. So, all right.
Today's affirmation, I am,
yes,
I am full of life and vitality.
I am full of life and vitality. I love that. Awesome. Sergeant Major, do you have anything that you'd like to say to the audience before we leave?
I enjoyed doing this.
Awesome. We enjoy having you. This is amazing. All right, guys, I think I will see you next week, same time, same place. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and have a wonderful week until then. Okay? Bye, guys. Adios.
Bye. Adios.
Bye.